Hey, Jeff.
Yeah?
Do you want to hear a joke?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I mean, is it really a joke if nobody laughs?
What?
Hmm? Okay, fine. Tell me.
Okay, here it is.
My name is Noctus, and today I'm going to be making you just a little bit funnier. Have you ever said something you knew was funny, but nobody laughed? It was probably because who you told wasn't ready for it, not because your joke wasn't funny. You didn't prepare them properly. Most of the time, it's not the funny part that's the problem. It's the part before that that's usually missing. People need you to give them context before you can hit them with the funny part. That before part is called a setup. The setup prepares the audience and makes the punchline undeniable. And there are different kinds of setups for different kinds of situations. Today, we're going to be looking at one specific type of setup, the kind you need when the idea is unfamiliar or a little weird, when people don't already know what you're talking about. This is called an orientation setup. It's the one that saves you from getting blank stares instead of laughs. We're gonna go through 3 jokes I wrote that all use orientation setups, and each one needs a stronger setup than the last because the idea gets stranger and weirder. Stick with me through the 3rd one. This is how you get funnier.
Small-breasted women are great with limited resources.
That's it. Yeah, it's okay.
What'd you think? Oh, Jeff, you're a tough nut to crack, but I'll be back with another one.
On its own, this punchline, it kind of makes sense. People can follow it. We've all heard jokes like this before, but here's why it doesn't work. Without a setup, it doesn't land as a joke, it lands as a comment. And when something lands as a comment instead of a joke, the audience doesn't know how to take it. They understand the words, but not the intention. So instead of laughing, they actually do a quick moral scan. Wait, what is this man saying about women? And that's stressful and uncomfortable. And this confusion isn't because the idea is bad. It's because there's no setup preparing them for it. So now the question is, can we build a setup that actually makes this funny? And remember, a setup does 2 things. It orients the audience's thinking, and it makes the punchline undeniable. And undeniable means this: the connection is obvious the moment you say it. That's what makes people laugh. When I wrote this joke, I actually thought of the punchline first. Then, I worked backwards to build the setup. For me, limited resources felt financial, corporate language, office culture, budgets. So the first version of this setup was, so my office is hiring someone to manage the annual budget. I told them to look for a small-breasted woman. That line does 2 things immediately. First, it orients the audience. Now we're in the world of offices, hiring, and budgets. Then the moment you hear small-breasted woman, your brain wakes up. You're trying to connect hiring, budgets, and breast size. And now I've got your full attention. Second, it makes the punchline undeniable. Limited resources already make sense in a conversation about managing an annual budget. And it also makes sense when we're talking about small-breasted women. So when I hit you with, because they're amazing with limited resources, the connection clicks instantly. It's the same punchline, but a completely different result. So when a punchline doesn't land, don't assume the joke is bad. First, look at the setup. Did it orient the audience to the right world? And did it make the punchline undeniable? That's the setup's job. It guides the audience's thinking so the punchline feels obvious the moment you say it. When that happens, the punchline doesn't feel random anymore. It feels inevitable.
All right, Jeff, this time I got a better one. You ready? Balding men make the best grief therapists.
Dude,
What?
are you okay?
Yeah, I guess not this one either.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go grab a coffee. You want one?
Oh yeah, you know me. I'd love an almond milk latte.
Got it.
So, did any of you laugh? No. And why not? Because it doesn't sound like a joke, does it? It just sounds like I'm making an unnecessarily cruel statement. And that's not because the idea is bad. It's because you don't know what's going on in my head. You don't know what makes it funny to me. You don't know what problem the joke is solving. There's no context or shared frame. So instead of laughing, you're just reacting to the words and thinking, why is this guy saying this? What's this guy's problem with balding men? Don't they have it hard enough? So why am I saying this? And more importantly, can we build a setup that actually makes this funny? This joke isn't really about balding. It's about grief and loss, and learning to live after something you love is gone. Was any of that clear when you heard the punchline? No. So how do we orient the audience towards grief and loss? Something like this. I've been looking for a grief therapist. I really want someone who understands what it's like to be powerless, to lose something they love, and know there's nothing they can do to get it back. Now the listener knows what world we're in. They think this is about emotional loss, something heavy, something real. And now we can turn it up even more. I want someone who can teach me how to wake up every morning, look myself in the mirror, and go on with my day like nothing's missing. And now the punchline is undeniable. I think balding men make the best grief therapists because they understand loss. Same line, different result. When your punchline isn't obvious, your setup has to do two things: orient the audience's thinking to the correct world and make the punchline undeniable. Here, we oriented people towards grief, towards losing something you love. So when the punchline hits, the audience realizes we were actually talking about hair loss the whole time. It's ridiculous, but it's also undeniable. And that's what makes jokes funny.
Here you go. Oh my God, thank you. I really needed this today. You're welcome. Enjoy your nut juice latte.
What? I saved this one for last because it's the strangest and also my favorite. Most people have never heard the words nut and juice together. So without a setup, the audience ain't laughing. They're stuck on, the hell is nut juice? Because it doesn't sound funny. It just sounds wrong. And that reaction is the whole point. Now, do you think we can build a setup that makes nut juice both undeniable and funny? Let's try. First, we need to orient the audience. I thought something like this. There are still taboos in our society, things we don't like to talk about. Mental health, the loneliness epidemic, and nut milk. And everyone is happy to just pretend there's nothing going on with nut milk. Now, we can answer the objection before the audience even asks it. When you crush a fruit, you don't get a milk. When you crush a vegetable, it's still not milk. And for some reason, when we crush a nut, we all get uncomfortable. Because the truth is, you can't milk a nut. You're not grabbing an almond by the little teats and milking it into a bucket. No, you soak it, you crush it, you put it in a sack and you squeeze until full nut release. And what comes out, that's not milk, it's juice, nut juice. And I know this is gonna be hard for a lot of you to swallow. Same rule, bigger distance. The stranger or more unfamiliar your punchline is, the more work the setup has to do to make it undeniable. Otherwise, it won't sound funny. It's just gonna sound weird. Now we've looked at 3 different jokes that failed for 3 different reasons. One sounded like a comment, one sounded cruel, and the other one sounded just wrong. In every case, it wasn't the punchline that was the problem. It was the setup. So if your punchline is weird, unfamiliar, or a little uncomfortable, you need an orientation setup. That's the kind of setup that tells the audience how to hear the joke before you surprise them with the punchline. When a joke doesn't land, don't immediately rewrite the punchline. Ask, what was the audience oriented towards? Did the setup tell them what world they were in? And did it make the punchline undeniable? Because comedy lives where something is both ridiculous and undeniable. So that's the video.
What did you guys think?
Like, subscribe, drop a comment. That would be great. I'm gonna keep posting these as I work through new videos, and I'll see you in the next one.